Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 682, recorded live on Sunday, July 31st. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have Samius.
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
I'm having that moment where it's like, hey, tomorrow's August.
It is, right? It's hard to kind of fathom.
Yeah, it's, and July just always feels like a long month to me. I mean, it's 31 days. But it's like summer, it's usually hotter. You know, it's been in the 90s here, like the mid to high 90s here.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
With my migraines, the end of June and the start of July is always kind of painful for me because of all the weather changes and stuff like that. And it's kind of lingered this whole month. Like this whole month has just felt off and weird and like crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. It's all just weird. It's like the year is over half over.
Half over.
Yeah,
half over.
Only 5 more months left.
They can have it, I think. This year can be done. It can be over now if we'd like. We can just start 2023 now, as far as I'm concerned.
I feel like 2022, at least in my world, has been better than the previous 2 years. So, you know, there's that.
There is that for sure. I'll give you that silver lining for sure, my friend, for sure.
Let's see, our screenshot of the week. A group on Kenneth completes Reaper 1 Skeletons in the Closet in this week's DDO screenshot of the week. Thanks, Spanna, for sending in this week's screenshot, and congrats to Vincino, Starry, Asian Steve 1, Diofati, Hans, Spana, Velo, Wolfie? I'm not sure how to pronounce WFE. Mesmerita, Symbiont, The Monstrous, and Tronco. Yeah, it's a great shot. Have you gone in the raid yet?
That's the new one, right?
Yes, Skeleton.
I still have not purchased or acquired the pack yet.
Okay. It's kind of a fun area. The boss in there, I think, or one of the. It's not really like the main boss, but like the side boss is I think it looks really cool. This was really funny to me, because this was published on last Monday, while the raid was still closed.
I feel like I saw it be published. Yeah. Now that you pointed out,
yeah,
the raid was still closed.
That was pretty. Like, is Jerry trolling us?
I hope so. I hope it's intentional. Speaking of which, correct me if I'm wrong, but my brain says it's Jerry's birthday today. I think he's 1 million today.
I don't know.
I think so. If it is your birthday, Jerry, happy birthday. Welcome to being as old as me.
We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyberears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of the recording. Next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. Let's see, on the podcast this week, Hardcore 6 is out, so we're going to talk about that. We have a patch to talk about. What kind of our driving conversation will be on Hardcore 6 is out. It's been out for, 5 days? 6 days?
Today's Saturday or Sunday.
It's Sunday.
So 4 days, right?
Wednesday, Thursday,
came out Wednesday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5. Well, this is day 5.
This would be day 5.
There we go. Depending on how you want to count. And timing.
By the time anybody hears this, it'll have been 5 days.
Or 6.
Or 6.
Depending on how things are going in Patrick's world. Samus and I were talking before the show about
somebody's busy.
Yeah, it's a busy year.
Not just me, also him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of where we're going to be going today. Should have a show next week. Hey, just kind of throw this out here too. Hey, Gen Con's next weekend.
Yeah, people are leaving right now, actually, heading that way.
Yeah, I'm sure. So if you're going to Gen Con, have fun, be safe, and enjoy the hell of it. Should be.
If it's your first Gen Con, I think if you Google around a little bit, the DDO cocktail episode, or our episode where Les and I kind of went over the nuts and bolts of Gen Con, I think it's still up. You just need to kind of Google around for it a little bit.
We've done Surviving Gen Con episodes. You, Lessa did some. Hell, I think I had you
I say
on
we've all
here.
done them.
Yeah.
It's just a classic. I mean,
Video
basically,
players
remember to
news.
shower, use underarm deodorant if you're a person that has a nose or appreciates having noses,
I
stuff like that. Don't forget to eat.
3-2-1 rule. Every day you need 1 shower, 2 meals, and 3 hours of sleep.
Yes, Lessa.
Those are those are the ground rules for going to a convention or a stupid ass work thing. But
I would also highly recommend taking some vitamins beforehand, getting some stuff in, taking a little bit of time to get a walk. Eat well during the convention because your immune
drink
system's going to get
water.
bombarded.
Drink
You're going to take lots of
water.
shots. Drink lots of water too.
Yeah,
Stay
dehydration is a thing.
healthy.
Yep.
You don't want to come back from the con crud or with the con crud. It sucks.
Yeah. So have fun. Should be a good time hopefully. And this is the first Gen Con since the pandemic that's gonna have like most of the event. Like they had one last year, but a lot of vendors were not there. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. I hope people that go are going to have a real blast. Like I said,
I
I
think they
got
will.
I think I have 3 card blasts or 3 card loads of people getting ready to go out from here.
Nice.
I think Tuesday. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hearing some stories. I know the damsels are going and Drax going and Rent's going and stuff. So I'm sure I'll hear some great
It's always
stories.
fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about game news. And we'll start with update 53 patch 3, which is hey, Skeletons in the Closet is open. They fixed an issue with shockingly skeletons in the Closet were preventing it from completing reliably. And so it's now open. I did run it once. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure it's going to be. I'm gonna. I've only run it once, so caveat there. I think it's gonna land somewhere in the upper half for me in terms of raids that I like. The first couple of sections I find to be a little like superfluous and unnet, and I'm not sure. Like, the first thing you do is run around and find runes, and I don't know. That part seemed kind of silly to me, but it looks cool, and it has some mechanics that I really like, so I'm excited about that raid. Fear Reapers no longer trigger their damage over time effect after they have
I
died.
feel like I noticed this.
The Fear Reapers? Oh yeah.
The Fear Reapers hitting me an extra time after they died, and I always would like look around and try to figure out where the other Reapers at. I didn't realize this was a bug until I
Yeah.
actually read this.
And it at some point along the way, it feels to me like Fear Reaper dots got tuned up a little bit.
They got tweaked when they changed it from like the massive thing to the donut.
Is that
Right?
what it is?
When it changed to a donut, I feel like they went in and they changed the power level some, and I really like it. I think the Fear Reapers they feel like they're in a much better spot than they were, in my opinion. Like they're a little bit scary if you don't see them, but they're not like the thing that keeps you out of doing Reaper 1. So I feel like that's a
Sure.
good spot for those kind of Reapers.
And when you get up to higher skulls, I have found them to be more dangerous than the Doom Reapers.
Correct. That's the point. They will kill you if you're not paying attention, which makes them good.
And I am glad to see that has been fixed going into hardcore, because the fear dot in hardcore is oof.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of quests where they can be in rafters, and hard to find. Shadow Crypt and Catacombs in particular.
So Shadow Crypt in particular is season 2, no, season 1. That with the Fear Reaper in particular was a moment that I will never forget.
Yeah. I have run out of the first part of Catacombs a couple of times, like the first part or two, because there's a Fear Reaper. It's like I have learned over the previous couple of seasons that it's not worth it to find that Reaper. Just run out the front door.
Yeah, just try again.
Let's see. Whirling Wrists and Shardy is now properly 1 action point per rank. That's great.
Good.
That'll free up some points.
Yep.
Panacea Poultice in Apothecary can be cast when targeting an undead friend.
Good.
Yeah. Anything that targets a player should definitely work on an undead friend. It boggles my mind a little bit that it keys off, like, them being undead keys them differently for like friend or foe targeting.
Well, it's part of how the basic rules are supposed to work, right? It's that shift between implementation of a digital space and rules as written. And it's one of those things that gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
I understand. It can be a thing. I personally would rather just you try to cast a heal spell on your undead friend and you just made him cry. Sorry. That's just how I feel. I'd rather have the rules isn't written implemented more often than not.
Vile Chemist defensive role now functions. That's good.
Thank you. It's always good to have stuff suddenly work again.
Yeah. Primal Avatar's Thorn spells are now properly considered poison spells. Yay!
That's good for spell power.
Yeah. And I use those a lot, actually. That's Primal Avatar is my main alchemist tree. Or my secondary alchemist tree that I use a bunch for.
Yep.
Tabaxi and Trailblazer now have correct icons for their enhancement trees. Yay.
Awesome. No, it's good. You should have the correct artwork for these races, especially if you're going to ask people to pay for them in the future, or pay for them. So yeah, it's good. I like that. That's a good change.
Potentially fixed a bug that prevents movement upon finishing loading into the game. Let us know if you're still affected by this bug.
I really appreciate this comment because it's saying, unlike what we've had numerous times in the past, we have fixed X.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, we think we have a fix for this. If you're still having a problem, please let us know so we can keep working on it. Right. That's the way I like to see these kind of things.
I will say, kind of as an aside, something I see from time to time, people get stuck and they can't move. Try tumbling.
You can do that. Also, I don't know why, but for some reason lately, I find that I just accidentally hit the enter key or something, and I find that I put myself inside the chat window, and then I'll get frustrated trying to figure out what's going on, and then I'll accidentally hit enter again, and I'll have like WAQ7. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh.
There's a thing that can happen where you get locked up and you can't move.
Mm-hmm.
And what fixes it is tumbling, and then you can move again.
Yeah, see, I have not had that happen in quite a long time. So if that is what's happening again, I'm glad that they're working.
Yeah, I don't think this is addressing that, but I do know that can happen. The missing filigree from Sharn have been found. Good. Is it supposed to be the missing filigrees from Sharn have been found, or the missing filigree from Sharn has been found?
I don't know.
The singular. I'm guessing there's a couple of sets that didn't have rare filigree, so I'm wondering if that's what's now been found.
That would make sense.
Greater Shout can now be used with the appropriate meta magics.
Again, it's wonderful to see things work.
Draconic Incarnation's core abilities now require you to take them in order. Wait, I didn't have to take them in order? That's interesting.
Yeah, they must have had something where the prerequisite just didn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it, but
I didn't notice it because you're leveling and
you click it by habit, right? So
yeah. The Axiom of Faith and Divine Crusader no longer requires proficiency. Cool. Shadow Dancer's Depths of Darkness now explains it won't stack with other alternate forms.
It's good. Yeah. Having good and clear tooltips is good. Have the in-game data be correct.
It's almost like immersion breaking, but I kind of feel like they should all just say, this is this type of form, or this is this type of form, so you always know which one's going to toggle, like you can only have one of these on at a time or something like that. I think actually a lot of them do, but...
This is what I want. I want every single thing to be rewritten with like 2 different sections. I want the flavor version over here, and I want
No.
the rules section over here, and I want to be able to look at both of them at the same time. I want to be able to read the cool little flavor text, and I want to be able to go, but this is what this thing actually does.
So
And
like
I
a
want to be
magic
able to see
card.
it. Like a magic card, or like how the second edition Dungeons and Dragons book was written. In particular, is kind of more what I was thinking. Flavor text, guts. Flavor text, guts.
Flavor text
Because
is fun.
there's a lot of places where the information in the game is wrong or out of date or whatever terminology you want to use, and you have to go to the wiki, and the wiki's just a bunch of people doing math on napkins. Not really, but complicated spreadsheets and hours of figuring it out. Like, these are people that are reverse engineering these kind of things. I would like to see the in-game data more promptly cleared.
Yeah.
That's all. That's my thing. Later, I'll come back to this point. Carry on.
The Bright Horn augment now correctly works on range attacks. That's one of the Isle of Dread augments. Shields are no longer erroneously able to be placed inside of cosmetic weapon aura kits, as they do not actually allow their models to be changed. Wonder if they were actually making anything.
It was probably just eating them and not doing anything.
Legendary Dreadnoughts.
Thing.
Legendary Dreadnought's fourth core should now grant its melee and range power.
Awesome.
Majesty. How do people find that stuff?
The people who do this stuff,
Yeah.
they have spreadsheets, they know calculations, and they go, this math is not right.
Yeah. Majesty and Fate Singer now restores charisma damage again. That's helpful. One of the cool things about Fate Singer, actually.
Yep.
I'm excited about this one. Legendary Green Steel augments display again. Yay! I assume it's going to be in the text in the exam. I haven't actually looked at one.
I only have one legendary green steel weapon, so I don't think I've actually looked at it in 6 months.
My TR build, I have an ash dagger and a salt dagger, because I'll use salt for most time, and then when we do a boss, I'll switch to ash.
Right.
Out for an alchemist. And when I'm loading them into, pulling them out of the TR cache, it's kind of a pain to figure out which one's which. So,
right. Yeah, that could be a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Legendary characters now display their XP reports and challenges correctly.
Nice.
Flawless Siberius Dragon Shards now have proper tooltips. Yay! I'm surprised we haven't gotten an upgraded Dragon Shard.
Why? They're just not. We don't use them now. Like, not really.
I change a feat occasionally, but yeah, no, I hear you. Players on mounts no longer randomly Tifos. I saw that.
That's kind of nice.
Kind of amusing.
Yeah.
Level 31 and 32 accessories now properly appear in game. Hey, apparently we're missing loot. Random loot gen.
I'll take it.
Fix some typos, and skeletons in the closet raid enemies are now in their appropriate monster manuals. Yay.
Also cool.
I think that's less of a problem for like getting the counts in your monster manual, as opposed to, hey, I can see their hit points now.
Seeing their hit points is important.
Yeah. It does bring up an interesting question. I assume at some point they're going to start adding dinosaurs to the monster manual.
I would assume that they would have a different monster manual for like wild beasts or something, and dinosaurs would probably be in that.
Right, sure. But I was just kind of wondering, like, I guess they'll probably break it out as like raptors and this and that, and not have them like group them together.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I have not actually done the new content yet, so I'm not entirely sure what the diversity of the monsters are yet.
Not as high with the dinosaurs as I was hoping. You fight a lot of baby, fight a lot of raptors, and fight a lot of baby triceratops.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of what I gathered from the last time we talked about it.
Potions of sovereign healing can now be used while moving.
That's cool.
My gosh, please, thank you. You can now apply the legendary Dread Isles curse to your dinosaur bone crafted equipment via the new Isle of Dread set augment. Great. I think that's the 5-piece set, if I'm not mistaken. Quarterstaff bonus effects from dinosaur bone crafting now automatically implement bonuses to your quarterstaff. And bonuses to ability score from dinosaur bone crafting are now increased while slotted into a minor artifact.
Yeah, see, I'm
mean, they
totally
get
behind on
better.
all that stuff. I'm just going to assume this is all positive changes.
Yeah. Witches of racial memories now have warnings about when to use them appropriately.
Okay, smart.
Here's the thing with this. I don't understand why. Like, I believe you have to like double click them to apply them to your character. I don't understand why this is not in the reincarnation UI.
It's because the reincarnation UR is bad,
Okay,
and no
they're
one wants to touch it, so it's just bad.
fair, but like,
No, that's your answer. What? Why are we still talking about it? It's
yeah.
how it is.
I'm just saying, like, this is just something I'm thinking of right now on the spot, that this should be an item that you put into the reincarnation UI as you're reincarnating to
Correct.
say, nope, change my past life.
The whole reincarnation system needs an overhaul. To be perfectly honest, it needs to be created better. That whole system. We've talked about it 1,000 times. I don't want to get into it, but it's an opportunity for them to really, uh,
Even just change
to like
to
really
update the
develop it.
UI.
It really just needs it needs to start with two things. One, start recording the history of the character now. Just like, hey, this is what you did. At any time, you can pull it up and say, this is what your character has been so far. Have some way to save that and then put that back in for the TR process if you want to. For the people who want to just do like quick TRs and stuff like that, or these racial things, it just needs to be rethought of these other options now. Remember, when this was like created, not only was it basically the first kind of system like this to kind
Right.
of extend the character of the game, but that was all the options. Now things have changed. It's been layered on, right? We have racial TR, we have iconic TRing, we have going back to 20. Like all these things are different. That system needs to be updated. That's all. I'm not saying that the system had problems before, even though it did, but now it's time that we can go forward.
Right.
So, but it's good now that they've done something with this. I used one of these racial memories, I think, because I don't like drow or something like that. I don't know. And yeah, it's a little bit different, a little bit not intuitive compared to the rest of the system.
I mean, I'll probably use one on Tabaxi when I get to go back to my first character who still hasn't done his Tabaxi lives. So
Yeah,
shave a life off. Well, the life he is right now, I won't get a past life for. So
yeah.
that's
I
what I'm
mean,
gonna use
if you're gonna get a free like one off of it anyway, you might as well.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a known issue in Isle of Dread. The dark secret that appears in Hail to the King is a relic of the development process and not supposed to be in game. It will be removed in the next patch. So ignore that.
Okay.
There is also
Done deal.
a funny thing that happened. So they turned off the hardcore vendor because people were getting the fairy wings. Basically, what they determined was happening, and they turned the hardcore vendor back on because the people were not getting them erroneously. It was Fire Reaper wings were erroneously granting the new fairy wings. So that reward will be removed in the future. I do not know if that means you will just lose the.
It'll
The fire
probably
wings,
just
but
go back to the correct ones. It's probably just a pointer issue pointing at the wrong picture.
yeah, but
That's what I would
they might
assume.
break. You might have to rebuy it. Is what I'm saying. If after they fix it, I'm not sure.
Hopefully, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though, hopefully that won't be the case.
Right.
Hopefully, they'll just make that pointer point to the correct thing, and then it'll just work correctly. That's what I imagine they'll do, but they could have to do
Fingers
something
crossed.
else. Yeah, fingers crossed for sure.
DDO bonus days, double mysterious remnants and a champion hunter week. So you get twice the remnants and the champion hunter vendors here through August 3rd.
It's always nice.
Yep.
If
Reminder
you don't
that
have that stuff.
these bonus days do not show up on the hardcore server. Sadness.
Yeah, sad.
Let's see, sales. This is the final week of summer sales. So special sales each week in July. This week it's 35% off of raid bypass timers, 50% off of diamond augments and deep gnome iconic hero, and 75% off of the alchemist class. So if you don't have alchemist, buy it now.
Get alchemist, get deep gnome if you haven't.
Yeah.
I love deep gnome. I think
That's a
they're
good one.
great. Does anything feel like they're missing to you?
What do you mean?
The first week of the hardcore server and tomes aren't on sale.
I mean,
That
why
feels
put
off
something
to
on
me.
sale that people are buying a whole bunch of?
Well,
Question mark.
so previous hardcore servers, they have the first week of the hardcore servers, tomes have been on sale.
I have not correlated this.
It's worked out every time so far. This is the first one that hasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have pretty much always purchased a +2 con tome and a +2 whatever my primary stat tome is, because I'm not going to invest that much more on a
Right.
character that could die. But I do that pretty much on every character for that first week.
Hmm.
They're not here now, so I didn't do it. My character died. so I'm just saying, are these two things connected? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't know. I don't usually buy tomes, so
Like I said, I get the +2s for the con and the primary stat on the hardcore.
no, it's a
Pretty much
good play.
always. Yeah. I
The
feel like it's a little bit, right? It's not a huge
right.
deal.
The actual sale this week is Make Your Mark on the World. You get 20% off of marks, crafting success boosters, canned crafting essences, and collectible crates. That's kind of a nice one though for hardcore, for people who want to build up a crafter. Being able to get success boosters
I'll give you this.
from the
I'll give you
store,
this one.
that's kind of nice.
If you're gonna try to craft on the hardcore, which I don't recommend, this is a
Yeah.
good one to help make that happen.
Weekly coupon code. This is actually kind of a nice one for hardcore
It's a new
as well.
one. This is new, right?
I don't
I
think
don't think I've seen this before.
10 free scrolls of true seeing with the coupon code SEETRUE. Very handy. There are places where true seeing will help you, and it's harder to come by.
Yeah, especially these are the special ones from the store, right? So anyone can use them.
That I
I
believe this
feel
is
like
true.
I believe that's the case. So that makes these a lot more valuable for characters, classes that don't have UMD, don't have
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I have had to try to go farm the uh, True Seeing clicky before on lives where I have not had the ability to do that. So
Yeah,
this can be very cool. Take them, separate them out, throw them in your bank, carry one or two with you.
good
Be
plan.
smart. Be smart about it.
Yeah, there's some quests that are pretty low level that having true seeing can be very helpful. I'm thinking of party crashers in
Yep.
particular.
Well, so one of the things that I actually have for my TR gear is I've crafted up like a level 3 goggle that's just true seeing.
You can do that at level 1, I think.
They might be level 1 actually. I don't remember for sure, but yes,
I have
it's just one
a
of those pieces of gear that when you TR and you after a certain while you slide into. So then when you're on the hardcore server and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't see this.
yeah. I have a level 1 set of goggles that's on live. True sight, blindness immunity, and has a slot for Master's Gift.
Oh yeah, see that's great.
So really nice low level gear.
Their community news.
We're still not getting Chronicles, and I'm doing a lousy. Look, here's the community news. Hardcore's out. There's a bunch of people that are streaming hardcore.
People are dying left and right.
Yes.
This is a brutal hardcore season. I know we'll get to that in a minute, but it's one of those. But otherwise, yeah, the Twitch has been popping. Like 500 plus people watching.
That's great.
It has been pretty good, all things considered. So, and it's kind of spread out. Like usually we have like not even three, two top guys at a time. But it's done a little bit better job of spreading out this go around, I think, which is really smart for people. If you can get out there and watch multiple streamers, you'll, especially if you're not already like familiar with DDO or like the idea of hardcore, something like a multi-Twitch, you can have a couple of different people up in particular. Not only really helping out the people who are trying to stream, giving them confidence and stuff like that, but you're going to see their mistakes, right? And those lessons, hopefully, if they pay the cost for you on the hardcore, then you're not paying the cost for those mistakes in the hardcore.
You'll also see their tricks, right? That'll be
Yep.
helpful as
You
well.
you'll
So
learn lots of stuff. I know people come to my streams when I do stuff. They've taught me things. I've taught them things. It's just part of how that community works over at Twitch. I highly recommend it if you're not already watching Twitch occasionally. Uh, give it a shot. Twitch.tv. Just punch in Dungeons and Dragons Online in the thing. See who's going like on there. Just pick one or two.
yep, that's a great tip, and it's a great way to support the community. One of the fun things about hardcore, right, is like the melting pot effect. You get people from
Exactly.
different servers playing with each other.
Well,
That's a lot of fun.
and that's the main thing about it, right? Like this is our mega server type window.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that's really fun about it is it gives you an opportunity. Like you and I don't usually get to play that much
Right,
because I'm on Sirlona and you're on.
Kyber,
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
not
Not
Sirlona.
Sirlona. And this is our window that we could do something. Like you put out on DDOCast on the Discord, like, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, man, if I could play during that time, it would have been, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
we just couldn't sync up. But that's what that's all about, is being able to hook up with the people on different servers, revisit things, try to have a fun new challenge. It's great. I genuinely love the hardcore experience.
The server or the times that I've like really dived into hardcore, like season 1 and season 3, like I met people that I ended up playing with a ton.
Yeah.
So outside of hardcore.
Well, I feel like you find, especially on hardcore, you find a click. The people who are willing to play like you're willing to play, though, especially when you're
and time. Like
time.
finding some, like season 1, finding someone that was on the same basic play schedule as me, and we kept, because we were it was really early in hardcore in season 1, and we were not dying, so we were going up. You know, by the time we got up to the end of our favorite run, it was like there were 4 of us that were just always on at the same time, and we were like the only 4 people up there.
Well, and that's how that works, right? It's how you guys play, how the team develops, and how it kind of mutates in together. Because
right,
the way hardcore works, and I guess we can essentially just say we transferred into the hardcore season 6 discussion. But how that kind of works is that based off your skill level and your patience and whatnot, you'll float to the top, and those layers will kind of happen, right? It's just like anything else. Or things will settle to different layers, and as you get a little higher and people get more confident, the people who are also at that layer thin out, and that increases the challenge. So it's cool in that way that you'll see that kind of stuff happening. But at the same time, if you're somebody who, like I used to be, where I would stream and I would take and play with my viewers, there's a big difference between person like where I was 6 months ago playing this game, where compared to somebody who plays the game part-time and doesn't play as much. You know what I mean? I was streaming 40, 50, 60 hours a week for 2 years straight up until my video card went out in January, right? So if there's a person who is more of an expert than me in DDO, there was a small class of those people, right? A small handful of people. So when you're playing with people that are not as skilled as you, they'll trickle down. And then what would happen for me anyway is I would get myself up here like 10, 13, 14, 15, whatever, and those people would die, and then they would be unhappy. They'd be like, well, how come, I started back over for you when you died, but you didn't start back over for me when I died? And it's like, well, I'm the streamer. I'm the talent. I'm the one that's playing through here. I've got 4 other people with me waiting for my decisions to move them forward. I can't do that for one person, bring out the whole team back. But those are all things that really color your hardcore experience if you're not thinking about them. And I only bring them up because that is exactly how those things delineate with the skill levels. And that's how you find those groups. Like you said, you'll find those 4 other people who want to play like you, who have the similar thing, and they'll gel correctly. And if you don't find that, then you really tend to struggle, I think, on the hardcore server.
I think one of the for people that are just kind of getting into hardcore, and especially, we'll get more into the difficulties of this season, but kind of dovetailing off of that, something I think players underutilize on hardcore is the friends list.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like,
because that's what you have to have. You have to have those people with the same vision, the same skill level, and the same desires as you do, just like everything else in life.
and
And the friends list is where you get them.
right, and pick up there was a person season 1 that I met somewhere around like level 7 because we just kept running together because there weren't, because we were in the front of that wave. We smaller pool, smaller group, LFM choices, right? And you look at any hardcore season at just about any point in time, right? Like, you're gonna see a lot more LFMs at lower levels at any given point. So the farther you get, the
well, that'll
smaller your
shift,
pool
right?
of players.
That'll shift. There'll be a
a little
point
bit.
in a few weeks where people have adapted enough to the change that they'll find that the new hurdle instead of level 4 all of a sudden becomes level 8. Like,
Right.
people will become more confident and more depth to get to a certain level, and then the new wall will shift. So
It definitely
it's
happens,
just
but
it's just a
there's
matter
always a
of
front
when.
of that wave, right? But
Correct. There's always the
if you
crest.
find yourself there, you're going to find yourself like it's a smaller pool. And so that particular person, we were always on together, and then we just started, like, they were waiting for me to log on because they usually got on a little bit before I did. And then we got to the point where I was like, I'd log on, go to my friends list. Hey, they're on. Great. Hey, what do you need to run? Right. And then we
I have
linked up on
people who.
Discord and just kind of kept going. So
That's what I was going to say. I have people who literally get in line for Discord. They send me messages as soon as they know. They're like, "Hey, what's your plan? What's the queue? How many slots do you have?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know."
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, the first 4 seasons, right? 5 seasons, first 5 seasons. Jesus, this is a lot of these. The first 5 seasons, I was like that. You know what I mean? Like, I had a queue ready. We put things together. I had a list slotted and I had a plan. This year or this go around, I don't know what I want to do. I wanted to solo, to be honest. I wanted to see how I could solo the 5,000 favor, but
this may not be the right season for you.
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't think this is the season that I'm excited to try that on.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this season in particular. So
Let's do
hardcore.
it.
We'll get into some of the details. Season 6 started last Wednesday. What was that? 27th.
Wednesday. Yep.
Sounds right. It will run through until 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday, October 24th. So we know when it's going to end. It might be a little bit after that, but my recommendation is to just tell yourself that hardcore ends on Friday the 21st. That way you have the weekend if you need to finish something up really quick, or if life happens.
This is what I'll say. If you are a skilled DDO player and you can devote yourself to getting your 5,000 favor, it really only takes about 46 hours. So if you have to, you could do it all that last weekend, but it's a hard one. I did that the first season of hardcore. I basically did the big run in 2 days. I wouldn't recommend it. Pace it out, but that's roughly the time it takes, about 46 to 48 hours.
There
So
is
figure that out.
It's probably actually even less than that now
It probably
because
is
there's
because they
more
added some new
quests.
quests. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got Feywild, Isle of Dread, Saltmarsh that are lower level stuff and easier content, and you're not because season 1, I think there were
All
like
that stuff was
20.
gone.
There were
They
like 20
introduced
quests I didn't do.
they introduced uh
Sharn Docks
the keep,
was
right? Keep on the Borderlands.
no
They introduced
Sharn's dock the dock quests in the Sharn
Mhm.
were introduced during season 1.
Are you
Gate
sure that wasn't Keep on the Borderlands? Because I feel like I did Keep on the Borderlands quest at
I
level
think Keep
21 for favor because I didn't have enough favor on that guy.
I want to say Keep came out for season 2,
It could be.
but I
One of
don't
those seasons,
know for sure.
I feel like it was season 1. I felt like I had to go in and do those quests by myself for the first time on the hardcore to get the last couple of points of favor I needed.
It was really tight in season 1.
It was
And
very
we have a
tight.
lot more. I know docs came out because I remember like that had just come out and we didn't know them and we needed like something.
Right.
And like, well, this one out of this chain is really easy and there's almost nothing to know about it and there's Bigsy's hands that point the direction, so we can do that one. We did that one and that kind of got us over the hump.
Yeah.
But there is a lot more than there used to be, for
There
sure.
are for sure. They've really done a good job of adding a lot of good quests and good content. You don't want to skip things like Feywild anyway,
No,
right?
the loot
Feywild's got
is
the
fantastic
superior loot
at
there.
that level. So, there are some significant changes, and some wrinkles.
Big changes, yeah.
But we'll start with the rewards. Oh well, before we move on to the reward, in terms of timing thing too, I try to front load it is my recommendation. Just because as you get farther into the season, two things are going to happen. One, some people are going to get frustrated and be done.
Correct.
Two, people are going to get their goals and be done. So the
Also
population is just going to go smaller and smaller and smaller. So you get to that later period of time, it's going to be harder to find people. I did one season, I think it was season 4, kind of throw something together late, and just ran out of time because the people that the people I was running with died and they were done with that, and then like the people that I was going to try to do something else with, they kind of finished, and maybe we'll help, like we should be able to help you, and then it's just like the schedules were crossing in the night and not working out, and it just time ran out.
That being said, which is all true, I feel like the lag is usually significantly less about a month in.
True.
And I'm usually not one of those people who complains that lag got me, but it did. You know what I mean? It was entirely my fault. I got impatient and I made a jump that should have timed me through a trap, but instead I stopped for 2 seconds and time in game did not. And I took 900, sorry, not 900, 97 points of fire damage after 5 was blocked by my fire resistance.
Yay!
Right? And like, well, it sucks that I shouldn't have been here during, when that trap fired off, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
Right? And that would not have happened had I was in 3 weeks. That lag wouldn't have been there in 3 weeks that killed me. So that's the other thing to keep in mind too, especially like if you already have a group that you can come in with, then you might want to just roll up somebody to roll dice for a while and then come in a little bit later for your actual run.
It's really crazy how like 4,000 XP stone put me level 2 because it's a first life character.
That's the big thing, right? Like there's a lot of good and interesting experience in the game at low levels that you can get, and it'll really help you and be smart to do that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
So the rewards, 1,750 favor gets you a Pup of the War Hunt Veteran Certificate.
Yay.
The 5,000 favor gets you the Fey Hunter's Wings.
Yay again.
This is the thing that I think is driving the most number of people to hardcore this year. They do look really good.
Wow. I'm just not this person, I guess, for this season.
You don't like the fairy wings?
Like, I don't understand. I just don't. Fairy wings, the pup I think looks kind of nice, but no, I'm not impressed this season. I'm sorry.
Reaper points. So 10 points is the Deathwalker's Cloak 6. That's always been a cloak. And then 20 points is the Mount Certificate, which is the Seat of the Huntsmaster.
Is that at least a deer? I didn't look yet.
No, it's a horse with so
never mind, I don't care.
The wolves that have the bone head.
Yeah.
A bone instead of the flesh. It's a horse with that.
Yeah, no thanks. This is part of my issue, right? Like, the 6 of these, it's the same 6 things. Like, I realized that instead of wings, now we have, instead of
footprints,
now we have
the wings.
fairy wings. okay. But otherwise, it's the same things. I'm just
The mount has typically been a 5,000 favor, and the pet has typically been at 20 Reaper points.
correct.
I do like that they're putting the pet at an easier to reach benchmark.
That is nice. That is a nice
I
change.
I do feel like the mounts are kind of fun, right?
I just
But
feel
you
like,
don't really need. People generally have mounts now, so it's not.
well, that's just it. I feel like now's the time for you to be pulling out the new mount technology if you want
Mhm.
to incentivize people. You know how much more I would care if the mount was like
A raptor.
something that was just completely visually different than what we have, right? It could be the stupid magic carpet idea. It could have been a deer, something that was just not a bear. It could have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I will also mention briefly that there is a level 20 Deathwalker Sash 6, which does look
That
pretty
does
good.
look sick, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I Stream Tom showed that up on his Twitch stream or Twitter stream, and it does look pretty sick.
Yep.
That's the one thing that I'm kind of interested in. So I might just do like a quick run up to 20 right now. I don't know. It
That's what I'm
depends.
one of my guys. So my strategy this year is I have one character that I'm just running straight up to cap. And the intent there is to try to get into Reaper groups and get the Reaper points. And then I have a group that I'm doing a favor run with. And we've skipped our first quest, and level 2 quest. Uh, although we skipped the one that in the market that has the poison trap right at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, that one's actually the big secret is just to drink a poison pot. But
Sure.
with lag, who knows?
Yeah.
Like I
Uh,
said, the lag has just been the biggest killer in my opinion this season so
mm,
far. But it
well,
always
Hound's been
is
pretty
the
good
first
too.
week.
Uh,
The
we
hounds.
haven't talked about the Hound yet. We'll get there.
We'll
Um,
get there.
but yeah, because there's so many more quests now. Again, things that weren't there at season 1. Keep, gatekeepers, Feywild,
Right.
uh, Isle of Dread. I mean, there's just Saltmarsh, like, and that stuff's all like level 7
It's
or
all sub
8
10.
or yeah. So there's a lot of stuff there to get
It
now.
does. It certainly makes a bigger change. Although, what I think that did we already talk about this? The next thing,
Which
the
part?
lowering the lockout
We
from
have not talked about that yet.
because that will change, right? That's the big thing that modifies these things because that
Yep.
content's so much lower level. Your power level's much different. A lot of people. This is a big change. This
Yeah.
is the biggest change that they made. This is the one thing that actually does feel like a change to the hardcore.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is it used to be in previous seasons you couldn't be more than 4 levels above the quest on normal.
And you would get tells if you tried to have a group up that ran anything other than that. My God.
um and now it's +2. So if you're running level 2 quests, you cannot be higher than level 4,
Yep.
which
The
does increase the
way
difficulty.
the way God slash the dungeon master intended. I don't know. This is the one change that I do like. I feel like a lot of people got a lot of additional help from cresting 2 levels above the content and always doing everything on elite.
Sure.
That was a big crutch in my opinion. The other 5 seasons. This I think is a positive.
I I would kind of enjoy a world where if you were doing elite, you couldn't get in above 2 levels, but if you did Reaper, you could go up to 3 or 4 levels higher. That would be interesting.
Well, so my thing is I just play the whole game always at this is my problem,
Yeah.
and I just always play like at Reaper between 1 and 4 now on Samus,
Uh-huh.
but you know what I mean, and
No, I hear you.
solo.
That's kind of where I live
So
too.
like
So
right, that's life, right? That's what we're used to. So I've always said you're going to have a better hardcore experience the more you take your gameplay and replicate from what you're used to hardcore, right? A lot of the problems come people are playing differently because it's hardcore and then they're not used to playing that way and then they die.
you yes, people always.
So
I see the question a lot, like, "Hey, what build should I play?"
Correct. That's
And
never the right answer.
my
The right
my
answer is what do you play now and what do you like?
yeah, I often respond with whatever you're most comfortable with.
Correct.
That and understand this is coming from someone who played a melee monk season 1. That was a
And well,
terrible choice.
no, it was not. You won that
Not
season.
it's true. I I did not there were
Like, you
parts of
beat
it
me
though.
to the W.
There were parts of that were challenging. Look, the reason why I beat you was not because I was playing a melee monk. The reason I beat you there is because I'm really good at leveraging people in groups.
That's also true. To be fair, I was also trying to lead groups as a bard rogue split, and I
Mhm.
just could not get past Demon Queen pre-raid, the monkey room. They were just destroying me
Yeah.
with the disintegrates because I was a bard.
Yeah.
Like, I just so yeah, that was my hurdle season 1 in particular.
No, I season 1, I really leveraged what the monk was good at. It was like, hey, there's one thing, stun it, kill it. And let the bear go first because there was a guy that I played with one of those 4 people
I
that
said
was a bear.
we got an opportunity to play a little bit
Mhm.
here and there that first season. It was really good. I thought that the monk did really well. I thought
That was
it,
before
in
Falconry
my
too, I
opinion,
think.
yeah. No, I think Falconer was out at the time.
I don't remember.
I think so. I think so.
It was so
But
long ago now.
because people were doing crossbows too. They were doing wisdom crossbows.
I think season 2 was Inquisitive.
Maybe. But
Anyway,
anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is the hardcore is always a lot of fun. This one has a few different wrinkles to it.
should we talk about the hounds, or do you want to finish your thought?
No, no. Talk about the hounds. I'll complain about the season at the end.
So the other big thing about this season is there are wild hunt hounds that show up. The short version is if you're not in a public area, hounds can appear. So this includes Slayer areas, quests on normal, I assume quests on casual.
I don't know about quests on casual.
I don't know. I know
There's a
I know they showed up in solo quests.
yeah. They will.
Um,
No,
so
will they? I
yes,
have not been
people
able
have
to
said they
spend
showed
enough
up in
time
solo
in it.
quests.
You'd have to test that, I think. Okay, so if someone had to
People have
test
told
it,
me they have showed up in solo quests. By the way,
wow,
Princess Pony, the bear was. I'm not trying to outrun the bear because the bear is with me. He's the bear tank.
he's trying to keep up with the monk. That's how that worked.
The monk is trying to push the bear forward with a shield.
Let's go,
Um,
get up here.
yeah. Anyways, so they show up. They have some sort of Radar 3 saying Shimtom said every difficulty. That's what I would expect.
Okay, like
Um,
I said, I have not tested it in casual. I know a lot of stuff does not work in casual the way it's supposed to work with other things. So
yeah. So they show up, and they do. They come in various varieties that are elemental themed, basically, right? There's a kinetic one, is a force one. There's a brilliant one, a decay one, which is like necrotic.
basically all of our types, right, of
Yeah,
our element or damage types that you can think of in DDO,
they
there's one
they
for
come
that.
in many flavors.
Correct.
And as the game gets farther, they get a little tougher. So as I'm finding at level 5, quests on normal on level 5, they start using a dot effect. They start with a vulnerability effect that makes you more vulnerable to a couple kinds of damage. Basically, the kind of damage that they do.
Whatever they do.
Right.
Yep.
So that's the added thing that you have to deal with. In some ways, it's kind of like the Mimic Festival, but no bonuses. They don't. I mean, they often show up as champions, including
They're
on
always
normal.
champion.
Are they
I don't
always?
think I've ever. I don't think they can be not a champion.
That may be true.
I've never not seen one as a champion. Chat will certainly correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm trying to think if I have not seen one that wasn't a champion, and I can't say that I have. My general goal, and it seems like most parties' goal, is to kill them as fast as possible.
Correct.
So as to not have to deal with that. I will say, once they start dotting, they pretty much land a dot right as soon as they spawn, so you're gonna get at least one. Some of them even have 2 dots on them. And Brilliant had 2. There's another one had 2 as well. So that's kind of the wrinkle. They get a little tougher at level 9. They kind of follow the Reaper progression in that capacity. Which, by the way, as an aside, does it bug you as much as it does me that Reapers have such a big jump at level 9?
No, because level
So,
9 is a huge change in the game.
hmm.
Because
I'm just
level
thinking, like,
9,
why is there, like, I'll buy into a heroic to epic bump, but like, why are we bumping them so significant? Like, it should be more of a curve, not a spike. Anyways,
so I understand that. It's just there's always going to be something like that, right? The way the curve works out, you're gonna feel it at a certain place. I would rather feel it at level 9 doing level
sure.
7 stuff or whatever than have it be that prominent like a level 14 where things are different, right?
Okay, I'll buy that. In any case, so they show up. They show up. It's a little bit variable. What I think is going on is, uh, there's every so often you start making rolls to see if you get one. They seem to come around 5 minutes
I'm
every
gonna say
5 minutes.
there's like a 5 minute mark and it's gonna target somebody in the quest basically, and you'll get a little arrow.
Princess Pony says that none of the hounds that they fought were champs, so
Wow. I've never not seen one.
Princess Pony is special and is getting all the luck here.
Very lucky. You clearly are the one to win this hardcore season.
Yeah, apparently. Um, they show up about every 5 minutes. Someone will get an arrow pointing down on them to indicate this, although it doesn't stick around. It's pretty brief.
It's just a moment, just like the animation from marking
The
in any other way.
the other thing is there will be a howl.
Correct.
And within about 2 hours of playing, you'll start hearing the howl out of nothing when there is no howl.
I will tell you that howl is probably the best part of that dog's.
Yeah.
Whoever set that sound up can be proud. That is the most terrifying part of those.
Yep.
It just comes out of nowhere and shakes you. Bam.
Yep. Lets you know that they're so as you're doing hardcore season 6, we'll give you a couple of tips on how to deal with hounds and how to not die from them. 1, don't go AFK in not public spaces.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I definitely saw someone they died, and then about 30 seconds later they came back and said in the guild chat that because they were in the same guild as me, oh great, died while AFK. Like,
Yep.
well,
so that's one of the things that I really had a problem with in past seasons, right? Is people AFKing or whatevering. I like that. To me, this is one of the steps in that positive direction that I kind of like about the dogs, right? Is that
sure,
that's the thing. You have a little bit of a timer to get the quest done. I advocated a lot of a timer, like a serious timer. This feels like a half measure on that regard, but at least it's something to help punish the people who are AFKing.
It is definitely a, like, kill it with fire as fast as you can.
Correct.
My static group, what we've been trying to do is, okay, we figure out who has it, and we get them in the middle of the group, and everyone else just like kind of spreads out around that and focuses. Like, when that thing comes up, you see shots going from every direction, except for the tank, who kind of tends to get closer in the middle, right?
Right.
To try to get its attention. There is a brief moment when it spawns that whoever has been marked can like get away from it and create a little bit of space. But that's kind of the methods that we're going with.
I have found that if you watch, because it'll give you a countdown timer essentially when it's going to spawn. So if in that moment you are mentally counting down, if you roll backwards, if you tumble backwards as it spawns, you will clear the monster and you won't get hit by that initial dot. That is how I have been handling it. I have seen people not do that and get wrecked. So I would recommend really watching that timer, pay attention to that, and then react as the creature is spawning. Move away.
And I think that dot is limited in range a little bit.
It's not far. It's like the equivalent, I think, of like 3 or 4 or 5 feet or something. It's of in game. It's not huge.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's a good
That's
one,
what it
Princess Pony.
Princess Pony is saying they hear the howl on regular servers now. Pretty sure SSG gave them hound PTSD. I hear you. I'm running on hardcore. It's like, wait, was that a howl? No, that was the summoned dog.
Yeah, see, now, granted, my group, I perished, right? We talked about that. But in the groups that I was playing with, it was more of like we would just someone would hear it, and then someone like a round of W's would start in chat, right? Wolf, 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 wolf. And then sometimes somebody would say it's me, sometimes not, and then we would just kill it.
Yeah.
Like it, in my opinion, it was not a big deal. I think it's probably a bigger deal in groups where you have good voice communication because you know it's coming and then you're going to coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just in a regular pug and voice communications medium at best, I found just a series of W's and then nobody seems to have any real focus. Worry about yourself.
Rage is saying that the hounds are spawning in their dreams. Radar 3 brings up something too that I wanted to mention. People have been getting a lot of success out of pets and hirelings. The Pale Master Skeleton, I hear, has been a popular counter. To stick that in the hound's face.
Randy's are always good.
So that's been pretty solid as well.
Did you read Radar's comment?
To not move, the hound will only target the first thing that moves.
I have not seen that to be the case, though.
I do not believe that is accurate. I could be. Look,
I said I have not seen that to be the case, but it's possible.
The reason why I'm going to be pessimistic on that as being a viable strategy is because I had one spawn last night and it just immediately jumped hard to its right, right at somebody, and I don't think that they were moving. I could be wrong. But I think we were all just kind of sitting on stuff and not really moving. Maybe they moved a little bit and that got their attention. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Mileage. We'll at least put an asterisk of mileage may vary of not moving, and the hound will only target the first thing that moves. I think that the bigger thing that I think players need. Let's say it works for them, so okay.
Okay. Give it a shot. Try it at your own risk.
The biggest thing that I will say about this is pay attention to hounds. I think most people are getting themselves into trouble. They're not paying attention to how long it's been since you've had a hound and starting a fight and then having a hound show up.
Right.
Right? So and also like where you're at. There has been, I was running, what was the quest? Something with like tight twists and turns in a pug, right? And we got a hound, and it was like, nope, get out of that space. There's a little space right here that we can work in. Come into this space, right? Like, don't do it in tight spaces. Like, position yourself. You have a little bit of time to adjust. If you know that you're due for one, maybe don't start a boss fight.
Right.
Right? The last thing you probably want is to get a hound while you're trying to kill the named beholder in Von 3, for example.
Right. See, and this is where I guess I get a little negative. I do want a clock, right? I do want a motivation to get the quest done, and I want that to feel like the pressure put on the group to do it, because I feel like slow and steady, this game is extremely easy, right? If you get a group and you're communicating and you're going slow and steady and you're paying attention to the things, you shouldn't have any problem. You should be able to, without too many hiccups, cruise to 20, or the 1750 should be pretty easy for most people. 5,000 favor for a lot of people is still difficult, even though I think this season will probably be the easiest so far for that for the reasons Patrick pointed out. There's at least another dozen quests worth of favor that there wasn't before.
Like
So like
50.
maybe that many, I don't even know. At least a dozen. And it's, I think for those things it's fine. I don't know. There's something about this hound mechanic that just doesn't quite sit right for me. You know what I mean? It feels like the quest comes to a stop when a hound is like summoned.
Right.
Then it takes 12 to 15 seconds before it to actually show up. So then the whole flow of the quest gets stopped, interrupt. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I
I
hear what
understand
you're
what they
saying.
did. I understand why they did it, and I like some of the things, but at the same time, it doesn't change the gameplay for me enough in a way that in a positive way that makes me excited to do it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with this season of hardcore.
I do not disagree. Um, there are things I like about the mechanic. I like the pressure of completing. Like there's a reward or actually there's a penalty for taking longer to complete a quest.
Correct. Correct.
I like the kind of randomness to it. I like when you get a hound and like playing off. I do appreciate that as a thing. Um, I I'm not sure that it plays super great, right? Because like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna stop, wait for the thing to show up. There's actually a point last night at the end of the Bullywug quest in Saltmarsh. It's like, we haven't had a hound yet, and we're about to start the end fight. Okay, well, we're gonna wait for a hound. And then we waited for like a minute and a half and got bored and opened the door, and then the hound came.
See, is that what the experience that you were looking for hardcore? Not
Not
me.
really.
That's it. Yeah.
No.
See, you hit that once or twice in a relatively short period of time, and I'm just like, eh.
Yeah. That part didn't play super great.
But it's tricky. It's weird. The other thing that I do like, but I don't like, is that even on non-Reaper difficulty, where you're dropping a significant amount of fragments, right? The what are they called?
The remnants.
The remnants. And there's really not a good way to use those resources on the hardcore.
Yeah. So one of the other things I'm not super high on in the hound mechanic is it doesn't give you a benefit. It's
Right.
just a speed bump.
Well, that's the one thing you
And
have, right? They're champions. At least most of them
yeah,
seem to be champions. So your reward is, oh, you get an extra chest or you pick up these things. But it doesn't feel like
right.
enough to make it worth the hassle.
I would really like to see there be like you kill a hound, you get a bit, and you can do something with that bit for two reasons. One, I think it changes the dynamic in a more interesting way, as opposed to here's the thing you need to kill fire when it shows up as soon as
Correct.
possible. Having a little bone, if you'll pardon the pun, uh, to do something with to augment your hardcore experience, I think would make it a far more interesting mechanic and season. The
Correct.
other
I
reason why I
agree.
think that would be really beneficial is because then you can turn it into a festival thing that you can turn on the main servers, on the live servers, and have you go. And I've been a huge proponent of, especially when it comes to the champion suites that we've gotten on hardcore. Like, I loved when those showed up on live, and I
Right.
would love if they would like utilize those and throw those in here and on live servers and have that be kind of this fun little thing to shake it up, right? Like we've
Well,
had the
you
champions we've had for so long. Like I loved getting the new champions and having that change things.
well, we've talked about this kind of stuff before, and you really like the champions in particular, and I think that that's a good point. But you really solidified a comment here that I don't know that we've really hammered home before. But one of the things that you could do with the hardcore seasons is you could use them as trials
Hmm.
for festivals and events and things. And the ones that have been the most success have been kind of based around festivals and stuff we've already had. The Mimic Hunt, for example, in my opinion, was the best one so far. Like it did everything correct as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the hardcore scene.
Right.
And then like that felt perfect, right? You got material or you got mats from doing the thing. You got that equipment. That equipment is not game breaking. You can come back over to the live
Hmm.
server, but it felt right. This doesn't have that. Again, I know I say this kind of stuff a lot, but I feel like there's not always the follow through of a vision from SSG when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, okay, now I killed these dogs. Now what?
Yeah,
Like,
they're just in the way. They're not.
yeah,
They're not
and
adding flavor. It's just here's the thing that you have to kill quickly.
and are they even a fun speed bump as you run across them? Because in my
Yeah, I'm gonna need that.
playtime with them so far, they haven't even been fun. It's just
Just dying so
been
fast too.
right. It's just here's the mess, and do you die or does somebody else die, or you know what I'm saying? It's not the thing that changed the game that I needed,
Hmm.
which is why because I'm not streaming like I have been streaming in the past, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to play or not this the rest of the season, or to what degree. Am I just going to do a 20 run? Am I going to go? I mean, I know who I am. If I can find myself in a reasonable position on the schedule, I might make a favor run or whatever, try to get on the board. But I, this season just doesn't have the same magic as like the Mimic one
Right.
or the first two, because the first two had the magic of newness. The third one had mimics, or whatever season had
Or
mimics. Four, it just there's some magic missing on this one, and it's kind of disappointing.
the other thing I'll say about the Hounds is I don't really like how they play. I would rather them be more like have more hit points and a lot less offense.
I think part of what I would like to see is instead of them spawning on you or on somebody in your party, I would like to see them spawn like at the front of the quest and then
Chase
chase.
you? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
That's what I would rather see, something like that. And then this way, after you get the call, then maybe you have them show up on the map, maybe not. Maybe they make a noise as they get closer and it becomes more intense. This way you actually feel hunted as opposed to,
they
oh,
just
it's time
show
to
up.
all stop for a show. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Instead of the speed bump or whatever. Then maybe it would feel a little bit more complete. The problem is that you're blowing a whistle and you summon you have 15 seconds to deal with the speed bump.
Yeah.
And that's just not what I was looking for.
I think it'd even be more interesting if they would just spawn with mobs like Reapers do. Um,
Yeah, but then what's the
but
difference between that and just different champions,
yeah, no, I hear you. But
right? So I get it. It's hard because you only can juggle so many different factors,
yeah.
but I
The
still
the
feel
big thing
like we
for
would
me
have
is
had.
they're just so speed bumpy and they're not like it's just here they are, we blast them, we move on, right?
Right, and maybe you stop and open a chest, and maybe you stop and pick up fragments, and that's it.
Yeah. And
And
like to have
you don't really
something
take
that
that stuff in anything else.
to have something where like they showed up and you interacted with them more,
Right.
to which would mean that they would need more hit points and they would need to be less deadly,
The other thing that's
especially at lower
aggravating, in
levels.
my opinion, is because again, I've never encountered one that wasn't a champion, right? Which means that a lot of the defenses that I usually use for low level stuff, blur, invisibility, stealth, those mechanics are all completely worthless against them.
Mm-hmm. And they also can't be crowd controlled.
Right. So now you have just created a situation where people, if someone wants to solo, you have to solo with a bunch of bots
Mm-hmm.
in your group, right? Because that's the only way to do it now. I really was excited to play solo. Like this was going to be the season that I was going to do the all solo stream, and I was going to see where I could do. And the first thing I saw this hound mechanic, I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, because half the time when you're doing those kind of things, you're stealthing or you're taking time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's just it immediately killed what I wanted to do as soon as I heard about it.
Yeah.
So that also kind of colored my opinion, because I have done the other seasons the other way. I needed it. I was looking for a change in gameplay. And this didn't give it to me.
The only change in gameplay that it gives us is stop, deal with the thing,
Correct.
and move on.
And that's just not a fun
Right.
challenge. It's not even a challenge. It's just a thing.
The concept is there-ish, right? Like it's just not polished
Well, that's just it.
around
It's
it.
so close, right? It's so close to good. It does all the things I was looking for. Like I said, I want the quest to feel like there's a clock on them. Yeah,
Does that?
sometimes it can, but it's not. That's not a clock. That's a speed bump. You have a
Yeah.
timer, right? I want
Mhm.
the quest to feel like there's pressure to get done, right? So it's a near miss, I guess is what I'd say. If I was going to give it a grade, I would give it like a B minus for
I
a
would call it
theme.
a near hit.
A near hit also works too.
Like
Works too.
there's some things
I
about it that I like, and it almost was there. And I think the biggest thing for
exactly.
me is like you just don't interact with, like they don't.
You
The
just don't
only
do
thing that
anything else.
changes is it's stop, deal with, go.
Right. And
Right.
again, because you can't crowd control them, it's not like you can't even web or dancing ball or have a preparation in advance. It's just it's I don't know. In
Yeah.
my mind, it's a B minus, maybe a C plus.
Yeah. As far as other things for hardcore season 6, good luck. Don't die.
Yep.
Um,
That's usually the real trick
yep.
is to not die. I would recommend patience. Patience is the real killer.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're becoming impatient, which is how I died again. I got impatient, ran through a trap due to timing, got tagged with the lag spike during that mission. It was all on my fault. If I had went, no, I'll take 5 more seconds to be patient, not play, I got to go run and catch up with the group, I would have lived.
Yeah.
Right. So be patient, make good decisions.
The things that I always say is that the key to success in hardcore is minimizing two things: bad luck and mistakes.
Both of those things are true. I would also add comfort. Become comfortable. As you become comfortable, you will, if you make mistakes, there'll be mistakes that you're more frequently recognize and are used to fixing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if your play style is in a certain way, you do a certain thing, you know how to recover from that, as opposed to you're playing in a completely different play style and you run into a situation that you're unprepared for.
The other thing that I would kind of throw out there is look for opportunities for gear that you're just really not used to. One that I kind of like to throw out: if you get a couple of shards through a monster manual or something, you can get a heavy fort augment, 100% fort augment. That's minimum level 8, blue one for what is it, like 6 shards?
I say it's not very much to get
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Um, Shards, the DDO store, because you're going to be doing quests on a new server for the first time. You're going to earn a bunch of extra points. Don't be afraid to use them. That's part of what they're there for, right? It's a tool. Again, I talked about tomes earlier in the stream. Again, I'm really surprised that they're not on sale. It always
It
kind of
might be next week.
feels it might be next week. Maybe they're going to hold off
I,
the first
I'm
week for
sure they'll
people
be
to
on
get
sale at
slaughtered
some
a whole
point.
bunch. Well, it kind of makes sense that maybe don't put them out the first week when people are dealing with the big lag and rush and everyone's dying a whole lot. Although you'd think that'd make a lot more money if they were like 50% off. All of a sudden they sold like 20 times the amount. But
I mean, if it was me, I would tell you not to go out and buy a tome the first day of hardcore and kind of get a feel for what the hardcore season is like. This is how I ended up playing a monk in season 1 and getting to 5K favor, because it was, oh, well, I'm just going to play a monk because I know how they work really well, and I'll see how it, like, kind of get my feet under me, and when it dies, I'll figure out, I'll have a better idea of what build I want to play, and then I just didn't
he
die.
said that every time we talked. Literally every time we talked, he's like, "Well, I'm just waiting to die. Then I'm going to play X." Literally every time we talked. But that's how that goes. I
Right.
had a season. There's a season with there's a Samus on the board because one and done, right? Like it happens. So had I had a +2 tome in me, I wouldn't have died this time. A +2 con tome. So
We had a person in my
it's
party
all.
get down to -10 last night,
Oh, that's nice.
and I had just given him a +3 Constitution armor, saved his life.
Had I drank a +2 con store
Mm-hmm.
pot,
Yeah,
right?
sorts of things.
Any sorts of things would have kept me alive yesterday that I let my lack of focus let me make a mistake. And that is how you die on the hardcore.
Short
That's it.
stints
That's
is a smarter play in my line of thinking. Don't play for 6
say
hours straight.
also a thing. Yes. Recognize your limits, recognize when you're tired, go play on live servers then.
Anything else you want to say for people heading into hardcore season 6?
Um I will say that one, you can do Tangle Root much earlier than you think you can with a good group. Tangle Root is not a hard quest chain, and I usually go in there and start and finish it at level 5 with a good group all the way through. And if you do Tangle Root at level 5, that will give you access to the favor buffer, and the favor buffer will be enough to keep you alive. So, if you can get to level 5, get a solid group together, go do Tangle Root, and then you can get your buffs, and that will typically be enough to basically hard carry you to level 10 or 11 or so, as long as you can continue doing the quest before your buffs. That would be the biggest thing. That should also help the most with the dogs as well. So, yeah, go to Tangle Root.
I'll throw out one thing along those lines, and Princess Pony threw out something that I like, so I'll share that, and then I'll give you kind of my closing thought. Along your line is go to when you hit level 10, go run Into the Mists on a
Yep.
low difficulty, and
Well,
get yourself a level 10 stick, level 10 weapon.
you don't have to worry. That one's another one that you could just do on Elite with a group.
Sure.
I think I'd be fine at level 10. It's not one that you have to like, oh, I'm level 10, let's go do on the casual. You don't have to go crazy with it, but it is definitely one that you want to motivate to do quickly.
Go get that good weapon, right?
Exactly.
Because you're usually gonna be doing stuff a little
And it's
slower.
one of the best weapons that you can, like, one of the better named ones that you
Mhm.
can get for doing stuff. So,
Yep.
highly recommend. Also, if you're a kind of non-traditional person and you want to take some time to like earn a little bit of revenue, low level named items that you can sell on the auction house, especially things from like Three Barrel Cove in that Explorer area. I'm looking at the Tiefling Blade, the Dagger, the Rune Arm, stuff like that. The stuff that fills the low level, uh, like low level desires, but you can still sell and hack. That's a great way to, if you would like to try to earn a little bit of dollars in game.
Right.
Um, those areas in particular are very smart areas to do that. So
You're just giving more
kind
things
of
to think
consider
about here.
those things. Yeah, well, that's just it. You're going onto a new server for new
Yeah.
things, right? And part of the game is gathering resources. You can do that in a lot of different ways. It's just a matter of how you kind of want to spend your time and energy. And you're talking about a situation in particular, right, where you're going to have these hounds chasing you potentially, and by potentially I mean definitely, and you're going to have to deal with them. So certain areas that you normally wouldn't even think about taking time to farm because whatever are now suddenly going to be rechanged to a priority because you are going to have to worry about taking the opportunity to farm these things, either like find a group or farm these things up. But instead, if you can lean towards gear that you can buy off of the shard exchange, auction house, etc., then that gives you a much smarter opportunity or much better opportunity to kind of be one and done on a lot of this content.
Something along the lines that you kind of brought up is that I like to give as a little bit of advice. Pay attention to your monster manual. Specifically, look for those astral shard benchmarks.
That's very
So
smart.
you can
I
get that first astral shard, and then you can put something on the shard exchange, and before you know it, you can actually build up some good shard stuff. Keep in mind that people don't have amazing gear, so something that looks halfway decent. Hell, I talked Myth into putting a like the season that Inquisitor was brand new. Myth got a Vorpal light crossbow of piercing, like critical piercing or something crazy like that. That was level 4, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna sell this." No, stop. Put that on the shard exchange, and she got like 100 shards for it.
see, and I'm of a person that I tend to be a little bit more uh, generous and that kind of stuff. Like I'd sell
Sure.
that for plaid or whatever. I don't blame anybody for doing anything like that. In fact, one of the
Well,
people that
set
I
your
play
prices
with
reasonably
does
and
that.
small.
Exactly. Be smart about it. Don't try to screw
Gouge.
anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Don't try to gouge anybody. And if you do that, you will end up finding things that people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'll give 5 shards for that
Uh huh.
or 10 shards for
Uh
that."
huh.
And you'll end up way ahead.
Uh huh.
The problem is, right? What are you going to do with those shards when you're ready to leave the server?
Roll dice and take
So,
stuff with you.
you got to roll dice and take stuff with you. So, don't be afraid to use those resources like we talked about. If you're going to earn them, you might as well use them to stay alive. A potion in your backpack does nothing to keep you alive if you're already dead. Same thing with astral shards, same things with DDO points that you're earning, although those can go back to your main server. Just be aware of all of your options and kind of think things through a little bit. Nobody in this game has an excuse to not have 10, 100 million options to look at before they do something because this game is vast and huge. If anything, there's too many options and it's hard to like narrow down what you want to do at that particular moment. So really stop, slow down before you go into a quest and make sure that you know what you like, have your stuff set and ready to go. I want to get through this quest. I want to get it at a time. I'm looking for this piece of equipment, whatever. Just think about that kind of stuff before you go in. Please urinate before you step into the quest.
Get the drink. Fill the water.
To get your drink, do all that stuff before you step inside. I've reached the point that if I'm back on the hardcore server, I'm just going to leave you at the door. I don't care anymore. It's already enough of annoyance to have to stop in the middle of the quest anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, just don't be afraid. Don't.
Unless you have like something coming up in real life, like kids or something, then we'll give you some grace. But yeah.
Exactly. You can have an emergency, but communicate that kind of stuff with people. Just don't AFK in the middle of the thing because you'll get left and dead.
Princess Pony brought up to not to buy an XP tome or like I would say if you're doing a favor run, don't worry about XP.
I disagree. Some
You're
you
gonna get
do have to
capped.
worry about you. You will get capped eventually, but you want to get capped as quickly as possible on a favor run.
This is true.
So I would not worry about getting the experience necessarily, but I would make sure that I do things to get that experience. For example, the first quest in the Cardamom quest does take exactly 5 minutes. So if you start that,
you can get hounds.
You can get hound, but you can leave.
Hounds.
Like you can get out, so you can pay attention. But that's a low level quest that you can do at level 0, basically level 1, and you'll get, I think it's like 5,000 experience or something. That's a lot. And maybe it's not 5,000, but it's a lot of experience for very little threat that you can run to a door by yourself. You got those solo quests that you can knock out all before you head into Korthos. Right? You can become level 2 before you start doing Korthos quests without a good roll. You get a couple of good rolls, all of a sudden you're level 3 when you move into Korthos, and then you feel much better about your life.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say as my kind of last thought, we said it before, there's a lot more favor than there used to be. Give yourself permission to not do the quests you don't want to do.
Yep.
You don't need to do
don't have to do Temple of
as many
Elemental
quests
Evil.
as you needed to do.
Nope.
You don't need to do Temple of Evil. You don't need to do Proof is in the Poison. You don't need to do Terminal
You do have
Delirium.
to do Proof is in the Poison. Only wusses don't do Proof is in the Poison. Shut up.
Long,
Stop that
quest.
nonsense.
There's a lot more quests. There's got to be 50 more quests that you can do now than there used to be.
What's the quest in the marketplace where you have to protect the chick for 15 minutes before the bad guy spawns?
You talking about the first one in the Sharn Syndicate?
No, it's not. It's like one of the outpost keeps. It's right like before when you run into House Deneath. There's like a quest giver on
Glade Watch Outpost.
One of them's Glade Watch Outpost, and the other one is something. I don't remember which is which, but one is literally babysit for 15 minutes. Around the corner.
Yep.
I'm not looking forward to that one. That is one I'm hoping to skip this go.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad one to skip.
Right?
I like doing
what I mean?
Cobalt Assault. That one's kind of fun.
Yeah, I also dislike Cobalt Assault, but I started taking like all sorts of hirelings in there with me, and then I just have them hit the shrine from a relatively safe spot. So then I let the hirelings fight that for years. But no, just think things through a little bit more. Be a little bit more cautious when you're looking at that kind of stuff, especially when it comes to time, potentially AFK and stuff like that. You need to pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Yep.
The other thing I'm going to just quickly add, and I know Patrick, we already kind of like skipped around it a little bit, but I am a fan of doing epics or elites. No, I was right. Epics. Reapers. Sorry, there we go. Reapers. I do like doing Reapers as I level up in heroics, but you have to have a plan. And you have to stop and you have to think it through. It's not always worth it, but if you pay attention to the quests that you're doing, there are certain ones that are easy Reaper quests, right?
Yep.
And those quests, if you do those, even as you're leveling up here and there, you'll have like 1 or 2 Reaper points saved up by the time you move into 20. And those 1 or 2 Reaper points, when you decide to move into like real Reaper quests, are huge. So think about that as you're doing your heroic leveling for especially quests like CO6 in particular, Grey Moon Waning. Those quests are super easy.
Fire
Reaper
caves
quests to do, fire caves, stuff like that.
You don't get favor for them because you're not in the compendium or anything. But if you're doing Reaper XP, fire caves are a little hidden one.
Like those little ones, you're gonna get like 400 or 500 Reaper experience. You do that 2 or 3 times, you've got 2 or 3 Reaper points, and that's a huge savings when you decide that you're finally ready to move into Reapers. Because there's nothing worse than getting up to where you think you're gonna like start knocking out these awesome Reaper stuff. You're like, oh, I'm level 29, I got this gear, blah blah blah, and then smack because you don't have any Reaper points. You walk right in and get melted.
Yep. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out today.
Yeah, I like it. I hope to be around a lot more. Thanks for having me on, bud.
Thanks to the folks in the chat, especially the sharing of tips and stuff. I'll just throw out Cray Angel's little comment here. Run with casters with SLAs to nuke the house. Good plan.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a discussion on the Facebook group on what the best build is for hardcore still. Everyone always argues whether it's favorite soul, whatever. I currently still believe it's the Bard. I think the Bard Spellsinger is
Bard
just insane.
And a favorite soul.
Yeah, I think the Bellsinger is just slightly stronger than the favorite soul right now, but it could be, depending on how the dogs ramp up, that you might be better off long term as a favorite soul.
I'll let you know. I'm running both.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon.
Thanks to Samius for joining me today. Thanks to all the folks who contribute to DDOCast. And again, thanks to the folks in the chat hanging out with us. That was great to have you. Thanks to Sandstone Games, Wizards of the Coast, and Cyberbeards for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon, or you can subscribe on Twitch, or all those fun things. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at DDOCast.com for show notes, MP3s, or calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including various DDO and tabletop. We've been playing Tomb of Annihilation. You can check us out there, as well as YouTube as well. If you have a comment on this episode, a question that you hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, or share some tips, we'll share them on the next show as well for hardcore. You can leave a comment, or you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media at DDOcast on Twitter. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.